On this week's Phil Naessens Show, I'm joined by Chief Executive Officer Tom Hannon of the BaseballPage.com. You won't want to miss this episode. The Phil Naessens Show is proudly presented by Swag Screen and Textile. That's swag for all your screen and textile needs.
Welcome to the Phil Naessens Show!
The waiting is over! The New York Rangers are the Stanley Cup champions! And this one will last a lifetime!
There's a breaking ball in for a strike, and he stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by. Struck him out.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Give it up! And right! That's what they want! Little dipsy-doo! Jamaroo! Take a look at Hannon, picked by Randy. By the hand is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up the slope. 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes!
Right-hander against the right-hander. The outfield is straight up and deep on Fielder. He is the DH today. Swing. There's a drive to left. That one is long gone.
Be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
About 2 months ago, I received a very kind email asking me if it would be okay to link to one of my programs. Of course I said sure, but what I didn't know was that I would have found a website that is, for a baseball fan like me, a dream come true. Here tonight to tell us all about the BaseballPage.com is Chief Executive Officer and Founder, Mr. Tom Hannon. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hi, Phil. It's good to be on.
It's nice to finally talk to you. Listen, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you want to.
Sure. I call myself a serial entrepreneur. I've started and sold several businesses over the years, and my lifelong passion has always been baseball. Right from my early life, I've been a big baseball history fan, and I can remember bringing the baseball encyclopedia to school, even in 6th and 7th grade. And I could see Fenway growing up from my house in Cambridge. And it's just been something that's been in my blood my whole life, and to finally have an opportunity to be involved in a baseball business is very exciting.
Sounds like it. How did the BaseballPage.com begin, Tom?
Well, it actually was started by a fellow named Dan Holmes, who worked for the Baseball Hall of Fame. And he started the site because he was a baseball historian, and he had taken it to as far as he thought he could. And he sold the site to me in 2009. And after, I loved the content that Dan had on it, and it was really an exciting thing to look at this and say, what could we do with it if we took this content? So, Dan and I made a deal, and then he worked with us for a little while, and then he moved on to blog for, I think it's Detroit Athletic now, and that's how it came about with us owning it.
Okay. Now, the site is packed, man. I mean, completely packed with information and updated daily. Either you're Superman or you have a staff in place to help you. How is it that you do what it is that you do for us baseball fans?
Well, it's a real labor of love. There's 4 of us who are doing it right now, and what we're trying to do is get as much content on there on a daily basis, as well as get the community part of the site going. So we figure that it all starts with This Day in Baseball, because in This Day in Baseball, it's listing all the events that happen on a daily basis, and then what we've done from there is we try and backfill season recaps. We try and put in biographies, game scores, videos, images, and relate to each day to try trying to get in new content every day. And then we also have different parts of the site where people work in specific areas like truth and rumors and those type of things. And we have upwards of 1,000 new pieces of content going on the site every day on various different types.
All right. Now, what kind of daily readership do you get? How many hits a day, unique visitors, do you get to the site each and every day?
It's up over 10,000 right now. Since we added the community to it, it's gotten a lot more traction. What people are doing is, instead of what you'll see in a lot of sites is they'll visit 2 pages and leave, and you can relate that to your own usage. When you're going to, let's say, si.com or something, you'll read your story, and maybe you'll look at one other thing, and then you'll either make a comment or not and leave and go to the next story, to another site. But since we've added the community, what's happening is people are staying 6, 7, 8 page views per visit. So it's done quite a bit for traffic, which we're really excited about. That's what we were hoping to accomplish with the community section, because you can now interact with anything on the site, whether it's a This Day in Baseball, whether it's an article, or your favorite player, whoever your favorite player is, you can leave a comment on their page. You can rate it. You can also favorite the comment, so that if your favorite player, for instance, was Al Kaline and you favorited Al Kaline, anything that's written on the site about Al Kaline will be delivered to you. So it's creating a lot more stickiness to the site.
Right, that's a great thing. And what other, now, if for someone who wants to just join your site, you've mentioned a couple of the opportunities that you offer. What are the advantages of joining your site as opposed to joining like SB Nation or MLBblogs.com or something similar to that? How is your site different? And what opportunities can you give the average fan like me?
Well, I think that the one thing we noticed in the baseball community was that there's a lot of sites if you want to be part of like a fan forum, or if you want to create like a group and have little discussions inside those groups, or if you want to comment on articles. You can certainly do that. But you can't follow fans. So it's very difficult for me to become friends with you other than on Facebook or Twitter or some other things along those lines. So we didn't think that there was a true community out there for baseball people who wanted to follow each other, talk to each other, and create relationships beyond just the forums. So that was one of the thought processes on what we were doing. So our community is more of a Facebook-type community. The difference between Facebook and the baseball page is in Facebook, once it happens, it's over. And then you'll get maybe however long the stream is alive is how long you're going to see that story. And even the notifications go away after a while. So with us, if you want to comment on a particular game, let's say in 2004 when Kurt Schilling had a bloody sock, for example, that piece of content is going to live forever, and people will be able to comment on that forever. So that is a big difference between what we're doing. We think a lot of the sites are much more in the now, and we have the now and the history. So that's a big difference maker there. And the other part of this is that you, as I was saying before, is you can favorite your content. So what we're going to do is whatever your interests are, whether it's a team, a ballpark, a handful of players, right from 1871 to 2012, you can favorite that content, and that content is going to be delivered to you in a feed. So you get to see what you're interested in, not just what the site wants to give you, but you're going to be able to see what you're interested in at all times. So we do think that is a difference maker for us.
Yeah, that sounds really good. One of the things I like is that you have a staff of regular readers, including one of our regular people that joined me, Mr. Greg Eno. How do you go about selecting your panel of regular writers? And how many regular writers do you have currently?
We have 30 regular writers from different markets. We're right now in the process of actually recruiting more people. What we're recruiting people to be is a team general manager. And whoever that person is, they need to be very passionate about the team. And that we're looking for people to, for instance, like Greg, to come in and talk about the Tigers. and do it on a daily basis. And you'd report news about them and rumors, putting up images, videos, and engaging people who are interested in the Detroit Tigers. And the way that we go about the selection process, whether it's going to be somebody who provides us biographies or whether it's somebody who's going to be providing us news like that, is their passion and their experience. We have Bill Nowlin, who is the Vice President of SABR, who's provided close to 300 biographies. He also wrote a recap for every single Red Sox season, every postseason for the Red Sox. So we're looking for those type of people who are very into their team and have a real passion about it. Because if you don't have the passion about baseball, it's going to be very evident in how you write. And I think if there's nothing else, baseball fans are very passionate people.
That sounds great. So now you're looking for new writers, and what would be the requirement besides the fact that they're passionate? Do they need experience? Should they have had their own blog previously and their own following? What are you looking for? What extra things are you looking for? Because a lot of bloggers listen to this program.
Yes, in all accounts. They have to have some experience. They need to be able to create the content. So when you're creating content, if all you're doing is regurgitating what is on ESPN, for example, that's not really interesting, and that's already out there. We want people with opinions and somebody with a good background of writing that we don't have to do a lot of editorial on, because putting an editorial staff in place to edit whatever is being written is not something that we're doing right now. So they need to have that. If they have a following and they can bring their following, then that would be great. That's really something that we're looking for as well, because not enough people know about our site. So if more people found our site and found the content on the site and the ability as a user to be able to do so many things, as in add videos, images, comment on things, make friends and followers, it's going to create tremendous experiences for people to share the experience of the game as it's happening.
Sounds good. You bloggers out there, you're listening, and Tom, I know you're familiar with my program. I usually bring on bloggers as opposed to, say, the media writers, because bloggers are very passionate usually about their teams. And I think this is a great idea. You guys want to get in on the ground floor, here's your chance. Get a hold of Tom at his website. Now, you have, there's so much here on this website, but you have a section where you just label it rumors. Where do you get the info, and how do you decide between the credible and the incredible, or the unbelievable, I guess we should say?
Well, all rumors, to me, are incredible until they actually happen. When you think about of all the interesting things that have happened in baseball, and some of it you wouldn't believe it actually happened until it does. And ESPN actually had a whole magazine dedicated to truths and rumors back in the early spring, late spring, early summer. And what we try to do is look around the internet and see what's going on. We have a few inside sources from a couple of agents, and try to give people some fresh ideas of what's going on, who their favorite players are going, what their teams are doing, and just give people some of that information they're looking for. It's a pretty well-read part of the site right now, with all the hot stove stuff going on a daily basis. We're trying not to just copy what other people are doing, even though that does happen a lot.
Okay, that sounds great. There's so much here. You've got this entire section on baseball history, and then you have another section here entitled Players. Now, would it be a safe bet to say that every player that's ever played in the major leagues, their information can be found on your site?
You can find their statistics, where they played, the awards, and their vital statistics, as I call it, as far as like the date of birth, the positions they played, their major league debut. Not every player has a biography in an image as of right now. We're probably about 35% of the way through that. And what we're trying to do is not just with the current players. A lot of the current players will have Wikipedia style biography. But once a player's career is complete, we try to have a unique biography where you can read some interesting things about them maybe you didn't know, and you can interact with that where you can add to it. You can send us additions to it. Some people have done that, which is really cool. And then we try to go to people who, like the Pittsburgh Pirates Encyclopedia, license all their content to us, so that we have very unique bios for the top 100 Pittsburgh Pirate players who ever played. And you're going to read stuff about Omar Marino that you're not going to find anywhere else. And that's what we're trying to provide to people who are interested in the players, more than just what you're going to find on Wikipedia, for instance. And it's not just about statistics; it's about their full life as a player and the interesting things that they've done throughout their career. And I think right now we have 17,850 players or something along those lines.
That's fascinating. You know, you also have, this is another thing that I dug immediately, is that each day you have these players from the past. It kind of rotates. So like today, for example, I'm looking at Gene Michael. It's too bad he played for the Yankees. And you have a stadium here, Busch Stadium 2. The 1948 Cleveland Indians. Now, how do you do that? Is it just like a rotating thing, or how does that work? I mean,
yeah, it's random. Every time you refresh, it's going to be different things. But what we wanted to do is, one of the things with the site that we've struggled with a little bit, and truthfully we still are, is the navigation. There's so much content on the site. From looking at the site, you wouldn't guess that there's 2.5 million pages on that site. But there are, and it's a matter, and you have to dig a little bit deeper than what we hoped to be able to find that. So what we do is, every season it has a season recap written. You'll get one of those. You'll get a handful of players. You'll get a Hall of Famer. You'll get a stadium. For instance, we have a write-up on, I think there's 230 stadiums total that we have write-ups on, where you can look at historical facts, firsts, last for a stadium, what happened to the stadium, the great events in the stadium, for example, which is baseball stadiums have always been a big love of mine. It was actually the first thing I did on the site when once we redid it was write about all the stadiums, which I think are as big a part of baseball as anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give this thing a test here. How's that? I'm going to punch in a name on the search engine here. Mickey Stanley. Let's see. Center
fielder for the Tigers.
Oh, yes, number 24. He played shortstop in 1968, so Jim Northrup could play center field. I have my dad had the Go Get 'Em Tigers 1968 album that we end up using for a frisbee. But I know everything about the 68 Tigers. Look at this, Jim Northrup right there, too. But here we go, first out of the gate, Mickey Stanley. How about that? This is awesome. This is where I come for all my research, folks. People say I do such great research on the baseball. Living in Greece, we don't have ESPN. They don't talk about baseball here. But goodness gracious, this site has everything, man. Everything. And look at this picture of Mickey Stanley. Good Lord, he looks young there.
Well, you know, Phil, the interesting thing about our site, and it's something that we noticed from the search, from people using the site, is that they're not really using the search engine the way they should be. Because in that search, if you type in a player like Mickey Stanley, you don't get just the player's history. You'll get images, videos, this day in baseball. You're going to get hundreds of results for some players. And it's like Google in a sense, where it's its own search engine. And you don't really get that on too many baseball sites. Matter of fact, none that I know of actually provide you with that type of search capability that we do.
Yeah, this is incredible. And this is all true. He played every position almost except pitcher and catcher. That's incredible. When I
first started researching baseball, it was Stratomatic Baseball in that Sports Illustrated game. And that was I can remember I was probably about 10 years old. It was the first time I ever seen his name. And then I realized how great and then I started researching him and saw how great an outfielder he was. It was so interesting to learn about baseball history. It's the one sport that really has it has an active connection to its past. It's really interesting.
I think so. I agree completely. I'm very passionate about baseball, and it's been tough living here because we don't have it on TV, and I have to scramble to do different things, But I've been fired up the last couple of years, and it's been a blessing for me. Now, with this site, now I'm logged in to the website. What features can someone use who doesn't want to join the site?
Well, you can do almost anything that you could do when you were logged in. The difference is you can't communicate with people, you can't see who's online, and you can't see what people are posting about, and you can't really access the community. You can see, like, if you had uploaded a picture, you could see the picture as a non-logged in user, but you can't comment on it, you can't share it with somebody, so it's more difficult to be active with the site. But you can still read all the biographies, and you can use the site as just a standard viewer, but you're missing out on the community, which is really the best part of the site, is to interact with that community and talk about your favorite memory in baseball, or talk about something on somebody's status feed. So that's really the good thing. If you can log in and use that, you can get a great benefit. We also have a point system where people are going to be able to redeem points in the near future. So everything you do when you're logged in gets tallied. So that we're hoping to eventually do something with, say, Dunkin' Donuts, where you could. Well, it's not, I don't know if that would help you in Greece, but where you could redeem redeem your user points for types of things along those lines. So a cup of coffee or something. So we're hoping that people will be more active with using the site on that level.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll probably be home sooner than you think, and you'll be one of the first people I call to let you know where I am. You know what, if someone joins the site and begins a blog, for example, does the blogger own his own content, or does the site own the contents? Because that's a big hassle in some places.
Yeah, that's true. The way that we've done it is we feel like you own your own content. If you're going to put it up on the site as a user, not as somebody who's employed by the company, that content belongs to you. And whether it's an image, a video, or a blog, whatever it is, if you decide that you don't want to be part of the site anymore, and you delete your account, all your content will go away. And I know that was a big deal with Facebook for a long time, where they own the content. And now they say they don't own their content, but they actually don't delete it. So if you end your account, all that content that you provided it's all still there. And we just felt like that was an improper way to do business.
I think you're right. Ning used to do that as well. I had a Ning site for a while, and they do that as well. The Major League Baseball one I'm a part of, we keep our own, so that's a cool thing. And this is great that you've done this here. Now, I'm looking here now at the ballpark section, and you have the entire listing for the current Major League Baseball parks, the ballparks of yesterday, the minor league parks, and other parks around the world, probably. How did that? Whose idea was that? And how important is it for us fans to understand the history of these great stadiums?
Well, the ballpark section is, I just want to preface it by saying it's not 100% complete yet because we don't have all the minor leagues in there. We don't have a ton of them, but we do have all the old parks, the current and the old parks. And I think, when you think about baseball, it's unlike football and basketball and hockey. A lot of people, football will have a little bit of it, but you don't remember really the stadium because the ice, the surface is all the same now, and the basketball courts are the same, and the football grid is the same. But in a baseball park, it's always different. No matter where you go, you're seeing a unique ballpark. That unless you're going there, unless you're a season ticket holder, or just going to Tiger games, for example, you're seeing something different every time. And each park has different challenges. So I think that's a bigger part of the game as anything. I remember researching the Phillies back in the 30s, and seeing all the home runs they were hitting and their batting averages, and then you realize that Shard Park was a tiny little ballpark, and that's why Chuck Klein was hitting 40 home runs, you know? So I think that it's really, it's an interesting part of the game that is really important to know, because it does lead to why guys perform at certain levels with the park that they play in. I mean, Curtis Granderson's a great example of that, right? So the Tigers, look at the difference between the Tigers and Yankees.
That's exactly correct. That's right. Yeah, he's killing it in New York City, and it's a different issue for him. Exactly. If he would have stayed in Detroit, would he have those same numbers?
I don't think so. You know, not the home runs, that's for sure. But then again, in New York, his batting average had suffered. You know, and you look at, you know, I'm from Boston, and Johnny Damon is another example of that, where in New York his home runs went up and his batting average went down, because it's really not a average hitting park. It's more of a home run hitting park. And I think that's the interesting thing about the ballparks, is they really do affect a guy's career. Another one's David Wright. I went to Citi Field, and you have to be Hercules to hit 30 home runs as a right-handed batter in that ballpark.
Yeah, you know, I'm a major Mets fan, so that's my number one team. The Tigers would be my American League team, I guess. But yeah, I wonder how would Jose Reyes or David Wright do, say, in a ballpark such as, let me think, Detroit, for example.
Well, you know, I think that Wright would still be a little handicapped by it, because I've been to Comerica, and it's still a big ballpark, and he I think if he wants to get the most out of his career, he needs to be in a ballpark with a left field, especially that left field gap that's not too deep. He might be better playing in Fenway than in Comerica, but Reyes is another animal. He would be Granderson. Not the power. He won't hit the home runs, but he'd probably hit 25 triples.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You know, with that gap power of his, he'd have to stay healthy, but I think that's where that he needs a park like that. But he did that's what he did with Citi Field. He took advantage of that, the deep outfield, where he could get the gap shots, and got a lot of hits this year. He hit 337, right?
Yeah, he was 341, I think, wasn't it? Well, anyway, he won the batting crown, and he lost the last month of the season. But yeah, Reyes would be fantastic anywhere. But I think fantastic. The best place where he would be, I suppose, of all the ballparks that I've been into, I would say the old Busch Stadium would be fantastic for a guy like Reyes. Or Pittsburgh Stadium. You know, they didn't hit a lot of dingers either, these guys. But now you mentioned stadiums, and you've mentioned a couple of stadiums that you've been to. How many stadiums have you actually been to? And what's your favorite baseball stadium of all time?
Well, I was thinking about that. I've been to 22, and I think that each ballpark has a different thing. So when you go to a lot of ballparks, you can start sectionalizing them off. So for an in-ballpark experience, PNC in Pittsburgh by far is the best experience, the best ballpark I've ever been to. Have you been there?
I have not been there, no. I have not been there. I've been to Tiger Stadium, the old one. I've been to Shea Stadium. I've stood outside of Yankee Stadium because I refused to go in it. The Busch Stadium I've been into. The Fenway I've been to a couple times. And I believe the only other stadium that I would have been in, several minor league parks, but that's pretty much it.
PNC offers, if you're, especially a night game, a day game is okay, but the night game, what happens is the whole city has a backdrop, and you can see the Clemente Bridge lit in the background, right over center field, and it's a picturesque shot. And the fans who were there, and we know the Pirates have struggled for a long time now, but the 15 to 20,000 people that are there are really into baseball, and they really know what's going on. So I think that was my favorite park. And I love Wrigley. The Wrigley experience it reminds me of going to a Red Sox game before they won, because the fans never think they're going to win the game. they were up 9-3 or 9-4 against Washington, and the bases were loaded and with 2 outs in the ninth, and they really thought they were going to lose. It was an interesting experience. In the best outside experiences in Milwaukee, because they tailgate.
Okay.
It's just like a football game. It's so different when you're parking your car and people are asking you if you're going to use your tailgate, and you don't know what that means. Being from Boston, I've never seen tailgating before at a baseball game, so it's really interesting. Going around to all the ballparks, you get to see a total different experience at each one, and it's I highly recommend that to anyone who hasn't done it before. Is take one of your kids and go off on a ballpark trip and go and see several ballparks, and you're just going to always see something you don't expect to see.
Right. Okay. I'd say my favorite parks would be obviously Shea Stadium would be number 1. Tiger Stadium was number 2, and the one I had the most fun at, or actually, I guess the most fun would be at Fenway. I had a great time out there. I sat out there in the outfield a couple times I'd been there. Another place I liked was the Mistake by the Lake, the Cleveland Indians Park, and I've been to Jacobs Field. Jacobs Field was one of the first ones of the new modern parks, I believe. And but I like the old baseball stadiums better. I love the Tiger Stadium. If you were sitting in the upper deck and you walked through that little path, like that, what I don't even know what they call it, that little stair or that little walkway, and you look down and you could see the people underneath you. It was great, and I love the hawkers. I love parking out by the garage with my dad and see the vendors, man. I was already after that Tiger baseball helmet as soon as we got out of the car.
That's funny.
But that was my memories there, and then Shea obviously taking the 7 train. But boy, I tell you what, this has been a great time. I apologize for the background noise. Apparently, some folks are enjoying themselves here in the hotel, and why not? But Tom, give us your pitch. Tell us why you want to see us over there at your site.
Well, I think, as I said repeatedly during this, it's the experience. And right now, the site, it's not 100% done. We're about halfway there, and what we want to deliver to you is a total baseball experience. And we're getting close to putting out the next phase of the site. And when we do, what you're going to experience when you go to Babe Ruth's page, for example, you're not going to just see his statistics in a picture of Babe Ruth. The next phase of the site is you're actually going to see everything about Babe Ruth. You're going to see quotes. You're going to see this day in baseball. You're going to see video, images, and we're going to pull all that content together so that you can continue to just look at his entire career, because I've always felt that somebody's career is about more than just statistics, even though that's the basis of baseball. And we want to be able to do that on every page of the site, whether it's the Red Sox, it's the Tigers, it's Babe Ruth, it's Mickey Stanley, it's July 1st. We're going to give you a deep experience. And not only that, but we're going to allow you as a fan to interact and become part of history with that experience. So when you write a comment or you post a blog and it's November 1st or it's May 1st, 1980, and you're remembering when you were at a game with your dad, you're going to become part of history with that blog. So that the next person who comes and sees that day is going to see this day plus your blog. And then they may comment on it, and they add their own, and you're going to create new relationships with people that you didn't know were at that same game with you. And I think that is what baseball is about as much as anything. It's those deep memories, the timelessness of it. It's like Babe Ruth still played. And Roberto Clemente, for example, who still gets Googled 1.8 million times a month.
Wow.
And it's just amazing when you think of Tom Brady gets Googled 700,000 times a month, and here's Clemente getting Googled almost 3 times as much as him. And that's what baseball is to me. And I hope that people who are listening and they look at our site that way and they want to join it and become part of a player's legacy and the date's history and the game's history, and share what it meant for them to be at that game. and they can do it for a blog, an image, a video, a link, and that's what we're about.
That's fantastic. All right, I tell you what, you folks out there, if you want to join a community, a baseball community, similar to Facebook, but far, far better, then thebaseballpage.com is for you. There's so much there. I mean, it would take us 2 or 3 months to talk about everything. Like Tom said, there's a lot of pages there, and it's only half done. And it's a site that I use quite frequently since I found out about it to do my research for this program. Tom, thank you so much for being here with us, and I wish you all the best, and you and I think we'll be doing some things in the future.
Great. Thanks for having us, Phil.
You're welcome. And that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of the Phil Naessens Show. Special thanks once again to Mr. Tom Hannon from thebaseballpage.com. Man, I'll tell you what, next week we're going to be talking half-stove baseball. I'll probably have a guest on, and if not, then I'll do it myself. Until next week, you all have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you around.